Shalom Aleichem to all, and it's been quite a while since we got together, since before Pesach, and I hope we're all still feeling the effects of Pesach, the Aliyah, and the elevation that we got. We want to go Michael Lechoil from strength to strength, in the middle of weeks of Sphira, and preparing for Kabbalah Torah, to receive the Torah and Shavuos, on our way through the desert, on the way to Mount Sinai. And our own Mount Sinai will come to Shavuos and get the great connection to Hashem on Shavuos. A little bit like the Jews got when they came to Mount Sinai in the desert. So this week, as we see, since this Shabbos will read Parshas Kedoshim. Kedoshim to you. Hashem gives a command, you should be Kodesh. We usually translate Kodesh means holy. I consider it one of the most unbelievable psukim in the Torah. Hashem says to the Jewish people, you'll be holy because I'm holy. Sounds like an outrageous command. Hashem says, I'm holy, you be holy. Hashem is Hashem, Hashem is God. He could be holy. How could he demand that we be holy? So, we call the living a holy life, the name of this week's shmooze that we're having. What does holy mean? Let's go to the source. If we want to live a holy life, what does it mean, holy? Usually we translate, like I said, Kedusha, holiness. What's Kedusha? Kedusha really means separate, abstaining, Kedusha. And when we come to the question of spiritual holiness, abstaining, it means to abstain from worldly, materialistic actions and involvement with materialistic ideas and actions. That's being called Kedusha. Hashem, God, is totally aloof from materialistic, physical, earthly actions and items in the world. And Hashem is telling us that we should do and try to achieve holiness, meaning to abstain from being involved too much, we'll say, in worldly, earthly things that most people are involved with. Hashem wants the Jewish people to be different, because Hashem created the world for us to have enjoyment, to have pleasure. That's the ultimate purpose of the creation of the world. Hashem wanted us to have enjoyment and pleasure. Real pleasure. The real pleasure is not the way people think in this world, the real pleasure, because this world pleasure is not real. For animals, it's real. They can eat and sleep and do all kinds of physical, earthly, materialistic actions, but that's not the real pleasure. For an animal, it's real pleasure. For a human being who has a neshama, who has a soul, the soul which lives forever is not going to be satisfied and get any pleasure out of what animals get pleasure out of. Our bodies, which are animals, get pleasure from. The soul is looking forward to get the ultimate real pleasure. What is the ultimate real pleasure? That's connecting to Hashem, connecting to God, who is the source of all pleasure, real pleasure, spiritual pleasure, which outdoes and outweighs physical pleasure by 1,000,000 times plus. The real pleasure of a person is to connect to Hashem, and the soul, the neshama, is connecting to Hashem, and that's what Hashem wants us to ultimately to enjoy. That's why He created us, for us to be able to enjoy the real, honest pleasure that is possible to have, and that is by connecting to Hashem, which will be in the world to come. In this world, we cannot connect to Him the same way. To a certain extent, we could connect, but not fully, by any means. So the real pleasure is La'aseh Lovai, the future. And He put us in this world for us to create in ourselves the possibility and the realistic life, which is life is all about. Realistic life means the life of the future connecting to Hashem. He's the source of life, the source of pleasure. And that's what we're doing in this world. So when we talk about Kedusha, Kedusha means abstaining. We're in this world to abstain from all the earthly, materialistic pleasures of the world, not to be overdone. We can't live in this world without getting any pleasure. Naturally, we have to eat, we have to do everything that the person needs to live, but not to overindulge, to keep away, not like animals, to make our main life, like most people in the world, make the main goal in life for pleasure, for physical pleasure, for earthly pleasure. That's what most people live in this world for. And as Jewish people, Hashem says, no, I don't want you to live for the purpose of having earthly, physical, materialistic pleasure. I want you to prepare yourself for the real pleasure, the pleasure of abstaining and training yourself to not be indulging in worldly, earthly pleasures. I want you to abstain and achieve the possibility and the actual true future that Hashem wants for us, which is to attain the pleasure of connecting to Him and the world to come and enjoying the true pleasure, ultimate pleasure, and the eternal pleasure that Hashem has in store for us. And these few years that we have in this world, that's what we have to work for in that direction. So Kedusha, holiness, Kedusha means abstaining, and Hashem brings to holiness, brings connecting to Hashem by abstaining from this world. How do we abstain from this world? What are we supposed to do to abstain from this world? That's where the Torah comes into our lives. The Torah was given, like Rabbi tells us, God gave the Torah to the Jewish people for them to purify themselves in order to be capable and worthy of connecting to Hashem. We have to purify ourselves out of the pleasures of this world, all of the different desires that our body wants, like an animalistic part of us, not to make that our main goal in life. We have to have pleasures in the world to live, and naturally we want to live, and we have to have those pleasures, but not to make it our goal, like most people do. And that's why He gave us the laws of the Torah, which give us a balance of which pleasures we should indulge in this world and which pleasures we should not indulge in this world. Gives us a clear-cut understanding of what we're doing in this world and how we should treat ourselves to the things of the world and do what we have to do and not do what we don't have to do, and gave us a guiding light how to be able to measure how much to be indulging and how much not to be indulging. And let's go through some of the laws of the Torah to see how this is fulfilled. So we're saying that Kedusha means abstention from the world. Holiness means that which we achieve by abstaining from the earthly actions of this world, being connected to Hashem. So by Kedusha, we come to Tevekus. Kedusha means abstaining, and that makes us holy, means that makes us connecting to Hashem. Since we become more lacking the physical part of the world, we're taking it, subtracting from ourselves, and going in the direction of holiness that we're talking about, connecting to HaKadosh, we're connecting to Hashem. By abstaining, we connect. So Kedusha means we abstain from the things of the world that the Torah tells us, and we connect. Holiness means we connect to Hashem. Since He's holy, we can't connect to Him if we won't be holy, so we have to make us a holy to connect to Hashem in this world, which eventually will connect us to Hashem totally, the world to come. Let's take the mitzvah of kosher food. Eat food, that's a thing that we have to have every day to live on. Can't live without food. Animals live on food. Hashem restricted us. A lot of restrictions when it comes to eating different types of food. It has to be kosher, which type of animal didn't forbid us to eat food. We're allowed to eat food. We're allowed to eat different type of animals, different ways to prepare the food that we enjoy. But there are many restrictions that the nations of the world eat all types of food, all types of animals. And we have restriction in whether it's animals, whether it's fish, whether it's different types of things that Torah, we can't drink all type of wine we want to drink. We can't all types of spices. We might find insects in the spices. We have some restrictions we have, and the Torah is telling us to keep away from. So here we have a very good example. It's Kedusha. Be restricted, abstain. It's Kedusha. But the Torah says Kedoshim Ti, when it talks about animals, what we're allowed to eat, so it should be Kedoshim, you should be holy with cancellate, really means be restricted. Restrict yourselves from eating only those animals that I'm permitting you to eat. Because other animals are more animalistic, so to speak, and they bring you down away from Kedusha, away from holiness. For whatever reason, I don't have a chance to go into right now why the Torah restricted certain types of animals, and maybe get to it later on or a different time. But those animals that restricted from have more of a nature of earthliness, materialistic things about them that Hashem wants us to keep away from, because that will bring us down into the animalistic world, and we want to be abstained, and we want to be wholly connected to Hashem. So here the Torah gave us a definite guiding a map of what we should be eating and not eating, whether it has to do with animals, with fish, with birds, and different types of foods that the Torah forbids us to eat. So the Torah is guiding us with the right amount of right things for us to be involved with. Kedoshim Tiyu, Hashem, you should be holy, you should be abstaining, because I am Kodesh, I'm abstained from, we said at the beginning of our talk tonight, one of the most amazing or misunderstood words. Hashem said, "You be holy because I'm holy." Is that fair? If Hashem said, "I'm holy, you should be holy"? Meaning, now we're saying we understand in that you should, as human beings, make yourself as holy as possible. And I'm giving you the laws of animals, how much you should indulge and how much you not indulge in earthly things and materialistic things. So it's Hashem says, I want you to be able to cling to me, be close to me. I want you to enjoy the ultimate pleasure and the pleasure of this world and mainly the world to come. So therefore, I'm holy. I want you to be able to connect to me. And I can't connect to me if you're animalistic, if you're not holy yourself, you're not abstaining from earthly and materialistic things. So that's one of the main things that we live with, food, and we have to make sure the food is kosher food, because the kosher food is not as animalistic and earthly as not kosher food, and therefore it won't stop us from clinging to Hashem. That's one thing that the Torah is guiding light to Torah. That was said the Torah is given to purify us from being earthly and minimalistic. Another thing the Torah gives the mitzvah of Shabbos and Yom Tov. Shabbos and the holidays, that we cannot do so many different actions on Shabbos. 39 malachas, 39 actions that we have to keep away from. And on Yom Tov, many of them, because we have to disconnect from this world. Once a week, we have to disconnect and keep away from doing all this type of earthly things that we do the whole week, because Hashem wants us to become more holy, abstained from doing all these different things we do a whole week, because He wants us to bring it at a higher level. Once we keep abstaining on Shabbos, the whole week is a holier time for us. Since on Shabbos we kept away from doing so many things, we can't sow and plow and cook and wash clothing and so on. So many things we have to keep away from, which are earthly things. They won't be in the world to come, all these things. There won't be cooking there, washing there. And in this world, Hashem wants us to abstain, to make ourselves on a higher level of holiness, of abstaining from this world, earthly world. And the person who keeps Shabbos is making himself more ready to be able to cling to Hashem, the world to come. Say, Hashem, you be holy because I'm holy, and I want you to connect to me to enjoy the ultimate pleasure that I have in store for you. So that's what comes to another big step in our life of Shabbos and Yom Tov. Then we come to the mitzvah of marriages. Who allowed to marry, who not allowed to marry. And that again is something that we have to abstain. Animals don't abstain from different having relations with the other animals of their same kind. And the nations of the world are not very particular about who they have relations with. And Hashem wants us to, you're Am Kodesh, you're a holy nation, and I want you to make sure to abstain from different types of relatives. The Rambam telling us the reason for that is because relatives that people are close to, if there wouldn't be laws separating them, they would be together and more than they should be. They would live together in the same house as relatives that are always together. They would have relations with the other, but so much too often. So Hashem says, no, people that you're close to, relatives, parents, and siblings, and that you live together, you have to keep away from them. The relations, this ultimate, intimate relations are forbidden, because if they would be permitted, people would be into it much more than they should be, and they'll be very animalistic about it. They live together in the same house, and there's no restrictions. The Rambam says that's why the Torah says, no, you have to realize they're restricted. You have to keep away from relatives, close relatives that you're living with, in order to be aloof and above having such a connection and having this so often to be connecting to them in an intimate way. That's why the Torah forbid us to have relations with relatives. Hashem's kedoshim too. I don't want you to be animalistic. I don't want you to be materialistic. I want you to be above that. I want you to train yourself in this world in order to make yourself prepared to cling to me in this world and the world to come. Kedoshim too. You should be holy. You should be abstaining from not being like animals without any guidelines of keeping away from different types of relationships between men and women. And even a man and wife himself, there's restrictions. People have to keep the laws of Taras HaMishpacha, from the laws of man and wife when they're not allowed to have connections with intimacy together. Even we have to, a person has to get used to being to abstain even from his own wife, own husband for different times of family purity laws. And even when a wife and man permitted each other to have kedushin, chuppah v'kedushin, they just can't come together and say, well, let's be together with intimacy. No, there has to be a kedushin. They has to give go to a chuppah together and prepare for it and make themselves close to themselves before. It's a process of coming closer and closer to kedushin, to a chuppah, and so on. It's not like animals just get together whenever you feel like, whatever you want to do. No, you have to realize that this is a process and it's something you have to bring yourself in a higher level of understanding and realizing that you are Tzelem Elokim. God created you as the main part of the creation of the world, and you can't act like animals. Just do whatever you feel like doing, you do, and that's considered it's okay. For an animal, it's okay, but not for a human being, not for a Jewish person. So here again, we have restrictions of the Torah tells us. I'm not restricting you altogether. You're allowed to eat. You're allowed to do work a whole week, not on Shabbos. You're allowed to get married, but there are restrictions. It's kedusha. That's called restriction, abstaining. Through that, you come to holiness. That's what we're saying. Our title to how to live a holy life. Holy life means by being careful and living with the guidelines of the Torah of all these different things that we're talking about. And naturally, the list goes on and on. We could talk about a whole night of all the mitzvahs of the Torah, which is guiding us how to be above the mundane earthliness of this world. And we have sometimes these were don't mitzvahs we're talking about so far. Don't work on Shabbos and don't have the relations between a man and woman that are not permitted, and don't eat foods that are not kosher. But then we have mitzvahs to do. We have don't be lazy. Don't be like an animal who's lazy. It doesn't just plops down and sleeps. And I want you to do chesed. You have to do actions of kindness to people, and even though you don't feel like, maybe it's late at night and somebody calls you up, they need help, or somebody in the middle of eating or something needs help and come next at the door and wants a donation. They feel, oh yeah, in the middle of eating, I won't answer the door. You can't be lazy. And you have to get up in the morning to go to the basic, to go to the shul to daven, even though you feel like sleeping longer. Don't be like an animal that's just doesn't like getting up. So just stay there and sleep. You're a human being. You're a Jewish person. You have to train yourself, train your animalistic body to don't do what you feel like. Do what your seichel, what your intellect tells you to do, not what your body tells you to. But when intellect tells you how to act, So again, this is how Hashem comes to purify us from our mundane physical pullings and pushings and things with involvement. That's what Hashem created us for. Kedoshim tiyu, you should be holy, means to be abstained from all the physical desires that we have, and pull yourself above them, because I'm holy, and therefore I want you to connect with me eternally. And the place to do that is this world, to prepare ourselves, to put ourselves in the possibilities and the way that we connect to Hashem, to ourselves, with the time that we live in this world, compared to eternity. This world is very short, the time a person lives in this world, but Hashem gives us the opportunity, the short time that we live, 120 years, even if we make it, but compared to eternity, it's like a click of the finger. But by living in this world and working through the guidelines of the Torah that God gave us to purify ourselves and to lift ourselves up above the animalistic nature that Hashem created us with, and we're surrounded by all the mundane, materialistic things around us, and we lift ourselves up and abstain from many of them according to the guidelines of the Torah. That's how we'll be able to live with the greatest pleasure, the greatest feeling of connecting with Hashem, which is the greatest pleasure that person could we can't imagine even the pleasure of our neshama, our soul connecting to Hashem. It's way above our imagination, the pleasure that we're going to have. But Hashem gave us this world to prepare ourselves and bring us up to that level that we should be on the level of connecting to Him. And Kadeshim Tiyu, that's what Pasuk tells us in this week's portion of the Torah. You should be holy because I'm holy. Why? I want you to connect to me eternally. And therefore, to connect, you can't be animalistic. I'm not animalistic. I'm way above animalistic desires. And Hashem is totally out of this world, out of the earthly, materialistic world. He's in the holy world, in his own world of holiness and greatness. And he wants us to bring ourselves into that category of Kedusha, and therefore that's why he's telling us, I'm holy, you should be holy. I want you to connect with me. I want to give you, I'm creating you for the whole purpose of giving you pleasure, eternal pleasure. Eternal pleasure means connecting to me. To connect to me, you have to bring yourself on the level that you're able to connect to Hashem. Just as Hashem is above earthliness and materialistic beings, He wants us to bring ourselves to that level also to connect to Him. That's how we understand this almost impossible command. You be holy because I'm holy. We can't be as holy as Hashem, but we have to be holy enough to be able to connect to Him in a big way through the guidelines of the Torah that Hashem gave us.